Why vampires? Why that angle? Like, why even? Why make a vampire book? Like, tell me about it. What's your interest? What's your interest in vampires?
Actually, before DayBlack, none. I wasn't. I'm gonna tell you how the whole thing sparked. I was watching Interview with a Vampire, and the original, not the AMC series, which I also love, but the one with Brad Pitt and
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
So there's this scene where they're in the antebellum South, and they're on this plantation. They have slaves. They're living as slave owners, even though they're vampires. And they're feeding on like the women, they're feeding on the men, and eventually the slaves end up revolting against them and burning their house down and running them off the plantation. But when that happened, and the movie just kind of continued on after that, and I was like, hold up, because I remember they bit this one girl and they didn't kill her. I'm like, what happened to that girl that they bit? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's a story there. Like, I feel like there were some more people that they probably bit, like illegitimate kids just running around there that they just didn't care about. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that's where the initial seed sparked. But I think one of the biggest things was I had a coworker, I forget his name, but he actually lived as a vampire. Like he was a tattoo artist, so he had the piercings, he had everything, but he also had his two teeth like filed down to points.
That's crazy.
Every day he would come to work, he just had these fangs. He was also on heroin really bad. The nicest guy you ever met, but he was just a junkie. And I remember going out with him one night, and he just introduced me to like his little subculture of friends, and they were all lived as vampires. Like they lived as vampires. They were drinking.
That is wild.
I think they were drinking like pig blood. They just had like it was like a little underground spot. I forget the name of it. And they were really living as blood. And I'm sitting there like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit. So
I'm not to be blunt, but like, were they white folk or?
Yeah, they were white, man. No, they was white, man.
Just checking.
Like,
just checking.
So I'm thinking about smoking my little blunt. They over here drinking blood.
Nah.
So I think that plus the movie was the biggest thing, because at that point Merce did exist, but I was just using him as I was just draw this comic strip of this guy because I would hear these crazy stories, so I would document them. And I had this little character. I had a picture of Mos Def. He had this picture. He was wearing a fedora because Mos Def was always the model for Merce. I just drew this character, and I used to draw him tattooing people. This is before I knew he was going to be a slave, before he was going to be a tattoo artist, anything. He was just or a vampire. And that's just how it kind of came about. And it just kind of rolled around in my brain, like the part where the town is constantly dark. I got that from 30 Days of Night. You know what I'm saying?
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Hip hop's a big influence in this book, obviously. Like when you look at Merce's coffin, you know, seeing all the different stickers, which I love that. Why Mos Def? Out of all the rappers you could have chose from, or hip hop icons you could have chose from.
Well, I was already a fan.
Absolutely, Mos Def is dope. He's dope.
Yeah, he's dope. And his voice, I thought would be always, I always envisioned it as a film, always. So I'm always thinking of his voice. I thought would have been a great way, because DayBlack is full of a lot of exposition. It's a lot of like Merce narrating it. And imagine Mos Def talking through these scenes. I like that'd be really dope.
Sergeant Lucas, yeah. Mind if I come in?
You are in.
Yeah, I am. But I always like to ask, force a habit. Yeah, mind if I look around, do you?
And he was also just a very stylish cat. And there was just one particular picture of him in this fedora. Like, he just looked cool as hell. And I drew it in my style. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So just general admiration of him. Like, today's Mos Def is not back then's Mos Def, because
the Yasin Bey version.
Yeah, he's a little older now, and his voice is a little different. So that's not somebody that I would want to play him today. But just back then, I was just a hip hop fan. I was a fan. I'm just creating this art. I'm gonna do. Oh, I like this. I'm gonna throw this in it because I can. So I like this. I'm just the type of person that likes to wear my influences on my sleeve. I don't like to really gatekeep who I love and who I was influenced by, because I think they're cool. And I think when people know who I was influenced by and what I was influenced by, it makes it even a more richer experience, and gives you more insight on where I'm coming from.
That's what's up. And just to add on to that, what are there any like albums that maybe you've listened to that inspired DayBlack at all? Like any like give me like 3 hip hop albums or artists that you listen to while that inspired, DayBlack?
Cannibal Ox was a big deal because when I first started apprenticing, that album was called The Cold Vein, and that dropped the year that I was apprenticing, so I was listening to that nonstop. Also, the Black Keys is another group because they do a lot of their stuff be kind of bluesy, and I always think if DayBlack had a distinct sound, it would be blues. A very bluesy, but like sweaty blues, really just bluesy, just like center. There it is.
Yeah.
But can't get away from it.
Somebody take me in your arms tonight.
I would say like D'Angelo.
Oh wow, okay.
Especially the Voodoo album. That album was in heavy rotation when I was creating, and he was really he probably is a lot. That music and sound probably is a big influence on just how I perceive Merce to be. Like if Merce was music, he would probably be D'Angelo's music, And the flip side, his brother Bryce would be more Odd Future. You know what I'm saying? Be more like
definitely
early Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, all that when they first came out. You know what I'm saying? So just that danger, that irreverence, you know what I'm saying? Vulgar, juvenile, all of that, but still intelligent, all of that stuff. So yeah, man.
Like literally when I was reading Bryce, I was like, this man just listens to Goblin like 24/7. Like,
exactly.
Because again, a lot of the interactions with Merce being a tattoo artist, and again, just like the whole tattoo parlor that he has, the bar, like that's dope. Most of the idea of Hazel, how he gets the blood through the tattoo machine, that was crazy. That's also one thing I love that you added on to, to make your version of vampires a little more different.
My dad was a strip club owner, so I grew up.
Really?
Yeah, and his mother owned bars, so I've grown up in those type of places when I was a kid. Even with the bar aspect, that was from being around my grandmother who ran bars. But at the same time, as a tattoo artist, I learned that when you drink alcohol before you get a tattoo, it thins your blood, which is bad because you'll bleed more, and it also, as it's bleeding, it dilutes the ink as it's going in your skin because your skin is just moist and not really retaining the ink like it should. But I use that as a way for him to get as much blood as he could from Hazel, because if your blood is thinner, he's getting more blood sucked out. So that's what the bar was really for. I forgot if I put that explanation in the book or not, but it's
I believe you did.
Okay.
I think you did. Some of the interactions that are in the book that he has with clients, are those based off of actual interactions you've actually had?
Yes.
Because they're hilarious, bro. They're so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them, yes. Yeah, I've had a junkie had me cover up tracks on his arms.
Crazy.
I didn't exchange for blood, but probably just for money, probably. But I've had girls that, I've had all of that stuff, man. All of that was because that's when the comic strip was. When it was just a comic strip, it would be just strips of that stuff, like just people saying wild stuff, and then that was it. And then when I got to Bill, he was like, "Yo, let's make this into a book. Let's format it into a book."
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what other interactions because I want people to actually read the book, but they're funny. They're funny, and it's like the fact that they're based off of actual situation experience is just crazy. It makes me really realize that I don't want to be a tattoo artist because I don't want to be dealing with people like that.
Crazy, man. It is a wild life, man, and it was a wild life. It was a wild life.